Hey guys, my name is Mark and this is the only 9800 X3D video for the latest ASrock BIOS you need. And we start off with the most important thing before you flash your BIOS. Set it back to standards, then flash the BIOS. Basically, you do this here. Give it a second. You do this here. And be sure you're using good USB stick in the right port on the backside of your ASrock Taichi Lite, whatever. And then we can start optimizing it for you. I will just go through what I do for the results I often post on X. You can find on 3D Mark, and I can show some here later on. Like I prepared a comparison from non-optimized to optimized, which will be after or at the end of the video, to prove the work I've done to you. Enjoy the video, try to learn, don't copy, because you can't copy the system. Every system is completely different. And remember, online tweaks are absolute bogus. It's like bullshit. The only thing works is you understanding your system, tweaking it yourself. And that's why you're here. So let's start. As we thought about this, or what the guy said like before the intro, I'm really in my real opinion about those tweakers is very, very mixed. There are some who already, or like from start on, tell you, you know, it's may a tweak, but it's not forever, and it's nothing, or it's not comparable with a real like hardware specification rework, or choosing the right parts, putting them together in the right way, the right cooling, proper this, proper that. That's something completely different. It's basically you buy a damaged car and try to make the tuner chipset like RPR software on it, on the Golf or whatever, and believe or trust in the 2.0 liter machine becoming a Golf R. This would never happen. Never ever. But the problem is people sell it to you. And what I do is, or what I want to do is educate you as much as possible so you understand what might or what is possible actually with your system and what is not. To understand what can be done with some money, what costs a little bit more money to do it, and to reflect yourself and ask yourself about what do I really want? Like, is it these typical 1000 FPS I want, or is it like good lows, good highs, a nice stable overall frame time, which is not too high. Like for me, for example, frame times above 3.6 ms, like way too high. Below 1 is very good. 0.9 is like magic, to be honest. And a boundary like an P99 above 1.5 is also, if you stay below, it's good. If you stay below 1.2, wow, you can feel it. It feels like cheating in any game because the response you get from the game, hit markers and stuff, is ridiculous good. And that's basically why I do this. If you played such a system for some hours, you don't want to play something else anymore. Like, you will tell me, like, I had a lot of pros playing these systems I do, and they always told me, like, oh, Mark, how will I play the system now at this and that main event? They have this and that. And I played this now for a while. How can I go back, and how will I be able to adapt? And then I tell them, I know that's a real problem, but the thing is, try to become the performer you are on any system, no matter which ones, because the system is just the material you are in or able to use at the moment of the competition, or of the time frame you are in the situation to own or handle this hardware. Sometimes you have better, sometimes you have worse hardware. And also the outer frame of the competition or the whatever changes. So what I do here is try to give you a brief explanation to how you may even can set up the worst system to have at least like 3% or 6% gain in not really performance, but in responsiveness, in how it feels, in better latency transfers, in better input feeding. This can make the difference in your head. Like, you know, I've done everything to change what I'm able to change, what I understood, and what may leads to this 1 or 3% peak performance difference. That's why you hear peak performance difference. These systems I do, this one is for a friend of mine. It's a Pellet 4080 with Royal Neos 6000 CL 28 RAMs with a 1650 watts Platinum Plus, cybernetics, and awesome cooling, Taichi, like the X870E, basically state-of-the-art hardware, built in the most proper way in an APNX V1 case, which looks a little bit like the old NZXT cases. Good cooled, nice. It's really, really, really one of the builds I really enjoyed. And I worked a lot on it. I rebuilt the custom water cooling several times, I think 6, 7, 8, many times. Because for me, it's always hard to do something for someone who is a friend of mine or who I know for a longer time and do it the way I'm okay with, like performs great, but I change something every day. There's no day I don't change something on my own system. So we start right now. This is the latest ASrock BIOS. It's based on the latest AMD release for basically Phoenix optimizations, as much as I know, which will lead to RAM optimizations, which will lead to latency optimizations, which will lead to the ability to run D as a dual-sided RAM, which will lead to the ability to run octa-channel performance on 2 DIMMs. More on that, I think on the 9950 X3D release. For those who don't know, and for those who know, I have the RAM here. They're really good. We just start off. What we need to do is, at the very first, after we have like flashed the new BIOS, we need to understand that this BIOS is the best they have ever released for this mainboard, and like since nearly 12 months, the only BIOS I think really makes a difference in any point in performance, and with the chipset driver, the new ones, also released for it. Like it's a new chip. It's like an 3900 KF. Like from how it feels, like how it boosts, how it just kicks out the frequencies. Like it really ramps up super fast with like no delay. I never saw this on any standard AMD. It like out of the box, it performs insane. I made the benches from like for this BIOS, for the chipset driver, without any optimization, not even with Expo X, and it's ridiculous good. I can't even imagine. Like I was there, I was like, what happened here? So the margin or like the performance gain with this BIOS is still huge, but it's not like that people really would need it. You can just plug and play the system, and it's ridiculous good. I was very impressed, to be honest. First AMD ASrock chipset like trio, which I really, really enjoyed. Most of the latest I just skipped because they were so shit. So many blue screens, so many errors in general, especially with the RAM control and with the frequencies and the speed eyes and stuff like this. So with the voltage to speeds, was really not that good. So what we do, first of all, we want to enable the Zen 5 gaming optimization. That's not the gaming mode. The gaming mode, as it says, is CCD and SMT control. Don't do this. Could explain for 50 minutes now. For 50 minutes, why not? Let me say it this way, for like an 98X3D, it's not necessary. May later for a 9950, maybe, but for most of you guys not. People like who enable it and have better like performance in terms of the special games they play and whatever it is, like in low resolution with low bandwidth needed, so like with no real data, like with not 1440p or 4K, or like when it works really good, think about why does it work. The first thing, Tiger says like, well, the first thing would be temperature and the voltage is lower, because the threads you have switched off or the CCD lead to overall lower voltage. Just the consumption and the result in heat, like an extra heat, which would lead to extra voltage, to higher voltage, which would lead to extra jitter, to worse the performance, to lower clocks. It's just obsolete. It's basically you ditched something to gain something else, which you have ditched already because you saved 10 euro on your cooling. And that's the truth. When I see people complaining about or talking about the low amount of cooling an X3D chip needs, okay, that's good. I mean, that's true. It is possible to drive it with, like, I don't know, a peerless assassin. Of course it is. I can drive it with I think I would cool it with the OP1. I'm pretty sure I could. Not gonna lie, but would it lead to at least peak performance of 1800 FPS in VQHD, like in 1440p in CS2 with max shadows and sun, without any filters? I don't think so. And it also will not lead to more than 900 FPS in average at the same settings. So why is cooling important? Basically, it's not important to keep the CPU cool. I mean, sure, but basically it's important to keep the voltages low, the jitter and the ripple. And the second thing would be which is like really, really close in connection to this. What type of rest hardware did you choose? The cheapest? The best bang for the buck? Then you can't expect to get the best overall performance possible. When you see the numbers later on at the end of this video, think about this PC, which is not mine, which is owned by another person, by Hara. It's basically a 1650 watt platin on the best sorted hardware possible for it. G-Skill Neo, Royale, insane water cooling, insane fans, Reds, double pump, custom cooled. I can't think of a system for this price which you can build which performs this way. Normally you would spend at least 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 euro more for this. That's no joke. Because when you see the numbers later on, some people will say it's not possible. And because I already had those guys who asked, like, how is it even possible? It's just a lot of time I've spent since the first video. And I spent regularly every day on this. I always, like, when I have my own system, at least once a day, I totally change the BIOS. Sounds stupid, and maybe it is, but you only can learn if you do failure. And if it's a failure, I only can see when I play enough with it. Like when I see the feeling, the inputs 8K, keyboard and mouse, like in general, like how the jitter is in-game on the network, is the ping higher, how is the ditch, how's the throughput, how is the interrupt, how is the sleep timer, like all this stuff together. Give me a brief overview of what I've changed, what is the result of it, and what is like the corresponding setting to it, and can I revoke it with something different, or is it needed to have it on or off? And that's what I'm doing since a long time, and I'm sharing it with you basically to help you understand your own system. It's not to copy this video, it will not work anyway, but to help you understand what you can do to be at the pinnacle of the performance of your PC. So we have enabled the 7.5 gaming mode. We don't touch the 105 watt. I know there's a very big video for 7.8X3D which says, yeah, just use eco mode to gain performance. This basically just means your cooling is a piece of shit and you should spend at least $10 for it. Because 105 watt only means you restrict your CPU down to like efficiency and the trade-off for latency and frame times. So it's not even close to be competitive, at no point. And if you use Kraken IO or whatever, don't expect to have numbers which are close to the ones you see at the end of the video. It's not really something which is possible. So we just continue here. We don't touch any of this stuff. We don't use a performance preset or whatever, or boost or blah or bloop. It's just not what we do. We just go into here and we use at first these timings. The RAM is not 293737. It's 283636. I have a brief idea why this is the problem is here, but we will change some of the numbers by hand anyway. We just correct them to the real ones, and we go this, then we go here. We can do this. These are like the Royal Neo version from the G-Skill. It's kind of more expensive. It's 2 more layer on the PCB. It has a different IC for the voltage control, let me say it this way. And it's possible to do what I show you now with this RAM in a very easy way. We can check here the timings. Looks good, but it's not what we want. We want, oh, press the wrong button. We want this. And we want 9.6 here for now, and we want here. I forgot something. We want this and this. These settings are like from the RAM itself. They just loaded because we loaded the Expo, and then we just need to hire this because we need 266.5 or 0.6 or 0.7 to reach the the divider of 3 of it, of the 6200. That's what we have done here. No, it's not sync at no point. Sync would be able or would be possible with the 8000 RAM. I have them here also very good, or 8200, 8400, but not with this ones. We do this. If you are unsecure with your mainboard, it's maybe not the best, and you want to try this, may set the SoC Anchor voltage to auto, so your mainboard can look for the best ones. If you don't know that, well, I just tell you that if the voltage is way too high or too off high, the latency penalty will insane, really ridiculous, stupid. So that's why VDDP voltage also changed to auto now on aggressive. If we would just load the Expo, it would be 1.15. Auto is totally okay. It turns out at the end of the day it will be 1.18, something like that. So it doesn't really matter. Just switch it in auto, gives you easy life to find the correct voltage. This also can depend on the state of the system itself, how hot it is right now, or how cold, how long it was like running already, how the degradation of the PMIC is, of the modules themselves. So sometimes auto helps, sometimes it pushes you into the corner because it introduces more latency than it would when you just try by hand. But it is also a thing of time and of experience. So auto is okay for you guys. External voltage settings, we just go in. And on this system, I can set an easy one. So let's give it a very short explanation. One is for the brave ones, for those who have the cooling, who have the power supplies, and who don't fear to may harm your system in any point or any way, because the voltage drop is not existent. On Asus, for example, the number 8 and 9 would be, I know it's wrong because it's not comparable. I have an Aqua OC, the limited one. And there, for example, if we watch like the load line 8, if we compare it with the 1, the 8 would be like go skyrocket to the roof. I'm sad we don't have it here, but AMD works a little bit different. AMD is more likely to work with stable, low, exactly found voltages, like on 0.01 digit exact, and then the jitter is like 0, and the outcome and latency is so good that it overcomes sometimes a way bigger bandwidth. But it's more like, or more likely that you go for a competitive system with a 6000 RAM like we do here, and for like a work or 2K VQW 5090 system or 4090 system, you may choose two DIMM sticks of 24 or 48 gigs, Heinz MDI, which are way more capable of, for example, 2, 4, and 8 channel work, and on the DS RAMs, which come out later this month, like in a week, something like after the video, some days after the video, there will be CL26 6000, 32 and 64, so single and double-sided, and also 48 and 96 single double-sided 6000 CL28s, and they are octa channels. So they're really good for upcoming CPUs on later this year also. So for you guys, if you have like an IO or a cooling, which is maybe not that super good, or you have a small case, you have bad fans in the case, just choose 3. Please choose 3. It also like is better for you to choose here 3 and curve optimization of between 1 and 20, and not choose 1 here and choose 30, 35, 40 in the curve optimizer, which is really stupid. It's exactly what you not want. So, pause oder was nicht? That's like the thing here. We have done everything. And one tip, if you have not updated the BIOS already and you want to save your BIOS settings, do it on the USB. Always do it on the USB, guys, because when you flash your BIOS, it's away. Everything you saved here, it's just gone for good. And sometimes you can just use it to like have your base set. Stuff you have found out and you may not regularly in your BIOS, just save it to a fucking stick, please. It like helps me, you, and saves a lot of time in your life and of the loved ones and a lot of stress, I guess. So we just continue on. In advanced, we just disable the PSS support, like cool and quiet is when I buy a Civic and not a Volkswagen Golf R, and we just continue. We don't touch anything. If people come to me like with, can we go like with the MMIO limit, like set it to 41 gig? With what CPU you want to do this? Not with the 98X3D. It's not even possible. Like you can do it, but it will it's more likely to downgrade the performance because of the address room than to give you like an advantage. And this is not for the 4090 cards to have like 10-bit tech. That's not the setting, okay? So what you saw there, you can leave it. Please leave resize bar on. I tried to leave it with off. It's just stupid. It's waste of time. Yeah, we were here already. Onboard devices. On the Taichi, like the normal one, we let the redriver how it is. Like we need them for USB settings and some other stuff. I just switch all the other shit I don't like off. I only like LAN because I'm old. I like LAN parties, you know. At the air, living the reality like was ridiculous good. Always 800 people, like in 2 big halls full of gaming was really cool time back in the days before the millennium. Stuff like this. I'm just kidding, guys. We disable the HD audio, which is not the audio codec from the CPU, guys. That's something different, okay? We just go on. We leave the display priority how it is. The rest we also have like it is intended to be. Here I can't set anything because I don't use SATA. I only use one NVMe all the time on the first port. AMD is different than Intel, guys. Keep this in mind. You can use the downstream ports between the GPU and CPU, no problem at all. Only if the motherboard is not made for this, for like an M850Ms, for example, they can't handle it, then you only can use the backside ones for PCI Express 4. Spend to RAM. Here we leave everything like it is. If you want to have your mouse charged when the PC is off, you need to set this to enable. It's the the soft off, like the S5 and idle stuff like this. It's not really like the S6 or one deeper. But let me say it this way: if you want to have it charged here on the back side, you need to do this or like switch it to enable. Next one would be the USB settings. Back in the days, this was this was a mess. We just disable the handoff and that's it. We go over here, trust computing. We don't change anything. Here we change a lot. We go into the CPU ones. We leave SMT on auto. Don't disable SMT, please. It's just not worth it. We prefetch everything like we can on all the channels, L1, L2. Why we do this? We want to have the controller known what happens. So the the latency between all the stuff is already very low just by the scratch, by start. So we have like an easy connect. And yeah, we just do this for now. Enable all the prefetcher. It's like back in the days on the older BIOS videos, we also did this. For those who know the older videos, thanks for being there since then. And thanks for returning. And we still do all the funny stuff. We just disable everything we don't like because disabling leads to less switched performance states, and P and C states, like the fewer I have and the less it switches, the less or the more the change or the less changes are in the latency itself, because every changed state all the time introduces latency and a lag. Power supply idle, we do the typical idle. We just continue to the bottom. We just disable SME. This is what I do. You don't need to do disable secure memory encryption. If you are about your safety and do stuff like banking or whatever on your PC, leave it enable or auto, please. We just go down here. We just disable latency under load. Disable it. I tested it a lot. The algorithm itself for the way it works is just not usable for competitive gaming or for like low latency gaming. It says latency under load, but basically means when your CPU gets the full bandwidth hit, it is not like freezing for a second whilst it's sorting. That's it, but it also needs up to 6% of your CPU in general. It's like over provisioning for an SSD. Not really the same thing, but works a little bit like it. We just disable SVM, so we don't have hypervision on the CPU. We go with less speculative. I go with less speculative. For me, these are the best results because it's safe, secure, and the shot goes on spot 10 times in a row on the same spot. There's no shot like going to the heaven or into the floor or whatever. It's just really precise shoot, feel, and response in game by how the shot looks, what you do. Like the prediction of everything is way, way more correct. And trust me, after this BIOS, it's still faster than everything else you have ever seen. And the prediction is good. We just continue. We do this. Why we do this? Because we can. As we can't do the NUMA 4 trick or NUMA 2 anymore, we do this because we want to address a little bit more, as we want to have lower latency, and latency comes by connections and bandwidth comes with less connections. That's why NUMA 0 and 1 was more for bandwidth and 2 and 4 was for latency, because more smaller, faster connections have led to lower latency, but weren't capable because of the managing and sorting to handle very big amounts of data, like big streams or whatever, were more harder to solve with like more and faster connections. So we just enable it for the speed, not for the frames or not for the bandwidth. If you want this, disable it, please. We do the encryption and the scramble, or to disable, or I do this. Please don't do this again if you do like bank work, whatever with your PC. We just go on the training. Here's the source. Normally, I would say, like, if you are not experienced in what you do with RAM and training stuff like this, and you don't have time you want to spend on extended RAM trainings like 16, 20 minutes, don't do this. Don't touch it. Don't make it like I do. Just set everything here on auto. Great for you ASUS guys. Everything is on auto here already, because ASUS know you guys are there for the brand and not for the knowledge. So let's continue here. I do this. Because, here I do auto, because here also. We go with the birth length. What is the birth length? It's basically how long I train very intense to have a better like DFE stepping and interconnection, or like the behave between voltage and data rate is more clean, more clear. The steps are like the steppings we set like the 4 taps each. So 8 taps are very tight, let's say woven in each other, like those 2 hands. They're gripping very hard, and you can't like lose them easily by a voltage jitter drop or whatever. So data and prediction is always nice. The only problem will maybe that the lowest possible latency can be reached, but this will lead to the lowest possible latency always. Like straight line latency, not sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's not as fast. We just work here for consistency on the best level possible. That's what I show you here, or like what works for me. If it works for you, I don't know. That's why you need to test it yourself. But overall, if you want to do it, you can just try to copy it, but be assured for like 99% of you guys, this will not work. So we have set the training already. We go secure, we did. That's it for here. We go into the Northbridge IO. Normally I would do it like this, or that. You can leave it like this if you want to be secure, because sometimes you need the IO MMU for addressing in general of more complex systems, or like with 2 NICs or with a graphics card, and with a little bit more on your mainboard, or like more SSDs, stuff like this. Therefore, you will need it, because the address room is limited, and the ledger used by the system is also there. It's not only for virtualization. Think about this. So we just continue to this part, and we go in here. Please don't do this. Go on, give me a second. Don't do this. Don't disable it. This will still, like, it will just destroy your whole audio feeling in any game. What people don't know is that since the 7 series of the AMDs, the audio codec totally moved inside of the SoC. The spot where it is now, it's really good. And the sound of the 98X3D on like my Audizs here, like I have a headset, like I have the HyperX Audizy headset, and the sound is ridiculous. You can hear everything. It's just nuts. So just leave it this way, and that's good. Yuma version determines if you want to may go with your iGPU when it is enabled for like dual system or dual stream. You also can do dual monitor, but it's also very good for people with a capture card, also a dual stream PC setup, or for people who like content media creating for YouTube with a second PC. Therefore, you can use the CPU, GPU, and for gaming and for the work or render or AI or whatever, you can use your real GPU. It works. It's a little bit complicated. It's called hybrid mode, like you see there. But if you're into it and you really want it, it is worth it. I can tell you already. So if you want to do it like this, the host translation, sometimes you need it, sometimes not. Host translation is not only for the iGPU, it's also for the addressing of wider systems or more addressable amount of RAMs, for example, on a 90 series. Think about this also. Keep in mind different type of graphics cards and setups and amount of SSDs and stuff like this need a different addressing, like ACPI states, and ACP addressing is meant to have a limited amount of addresses and digits they can give out. And that's like the tech is very important in sorting and in speed. So keep it like this. We just go over here, the spread, it says spread, and I say disable. And this one is a little bit more complicated. How can I make it really short? After you have done the latest BIOS, you need the latest chipset driver anyway. You find it on the ASrock site too, but I will put a link also. It's really, really good. Everything is new. There is, for the 3D performance enhancer, there is a new list for devices and programs and games they support. It's no joke. And the new Bereitstellungstreiber, like there's a new supportive driver, or like the newer version of it now handles the energy to data rate for the down ports and for the SSD and for the power, like for the different cores, for the cache and stuff in general, way, way more aggressive than before. You will feel it if you insert the BIOS. You set up the BIOS and you have installed the chipset driver after restart. I bet your fans will go they will go ridiculous loud. I'm pretty sure about this. And it's good. You can feel it in any game. It's great work. But if you are like really retarded like me, you disable this stuff anyway. You go only with like the power control service, and then you just test cache or frequency for yourself, and then you good to go. Have fun. And don't tell me the result, please, because it can be very frustrating. The rest you can just leave like this. If you use Echo mode to gain more performance, I'm feeling very sad for you. Was it everything here? Yeah, it's what there's here. Like I wouldn't change anything. SMM isolation support, don't touch it. Even though people or the Pluton security don't just fucking touch it. We go down here. We disable PCIe power management. Yes. Why? Because the P states, like the power management states on stuff like SSD and NIC and some other gear in the on the mainboard controlled by the mainboard itself they need a little bit longer to switch the states, and this can introduce great latency and great frustration. And we don't want this. We just want pure power. Also, it is one part of the downport power management for the PCI 4 and 5, 16 times gen, like for the graphics card slot. So disable it. Just disable it, guys. Hier runtergesetzt. So disable it. I always have it disabled, and I also worked and tried with enable, and it's just not good. It's just not the feeling you want. With disabled, you have a great feeling, no joke. I see the firmware version, by the way, it's 1.203A. It's the latest on ASrock. I think Asus doesn't have it right now. MSI may have it. As I said, it's basically made for RAM. Some optimization, but it's the first since a long time, which I really, really enjoy. Graphic features, these ones are meant to be for the upper part of your back panel, where you don't connect your monitor for gaming. You do this in your graphics card. That's a little bit lower, okay? Good. So you can disable it if you never want to use it, or leave it like this if you don't care and you may want to use it later on. You do this. You don't enable the clock power management, because it will also lead to great punishment, especially on NIC on SSD. You won't be able to like go over 40 megabyte per second. That's no joke. I had a really hard time with this shit. And you need the provisioning management service, of the AMD chipset driver to have this CPU running together with any SSD. Because if not, they just like play ping pong. They don't drive the race, you know. So we go down here, we set the GFX lanes to auto, we set the link speed of the first slot to Gen 4 because it's 16 times link, and the 8 times link which we don't use, which is the bottom ones here, which is interesting later this year. We will see. For SMT graphics card. What? So yeah, we enable M2 and the link speed we set to Gen 4. Afterwards we press enter. Ship for the chipset link speed. Also on the Macs, you always want to have chipset on the Macs because on the Northbridge there's so many stuff connected. The NIC, most of the USB ports you know, and you use some of the controller you need. So just set it to the highest rate. Base clock control on this one is like it has 2 clocks, or it has the possibility to do 2, where the PCI Express clock is always fixed to 100. And by changing those clock speeds here, you can see on, for example, if you use Sleep Timer to check it, how big or small the jitter is. I prefer this one. Give me a second. Press the wrong button. I prefer this one. If you set to auto is 100, as you can see. The Twitter gods of AMD optimization and bullshit talking use this. Great. Punishment is insane when it comes to latency. And the Gs use this. Have fun, it really works insane good. The jitter on the sleep timer is 0.0003. Think about it. Try with 100, it's a way more. And I tried a lot. So we go here. Here's something, that's something, if you are an overclocking guy and watch this, you can do this. For all those guys out there who have spent 100, 200 bucks for their mainboard and 10 bucks for the cooling and 10 bucks for the power supply unit, don't do this. What is it? It's the throttle for the power for the CPU and SoC, and for the control of the peak, where the peaks can be like, I think, some thousands for like nanoseconds. And if you don't have the hardware to the setting in your PC, don't do this, because it can really like micro harm everything, SSD, RAM, whatever. Just don't do this. I do this because it works for me. So here we just leave it like this. Can't tell to do this on predictive or auto, because the results were not really that. Like, the result itself was not that I was really thinking about keeping this as a necessity or like a real important information for you guys to say, hey, press this on predictive. If you have some problems with interconnection, this may help if you're overclocking or your RAM is bad or your cooling in general. But overall, we'll leave it on auto. We go here and we do this. That's it for here. We go here, we go advanced, we go PBO limits motherboard, we set the scalar to 10 times. For people with normal PCs, like budget stuff, leave it on auto, please. We do the overclock override. We set it to 200, and now you tell me why. Because these CPU are way more capable of reaching these numbers than the older ones. I wouldn't use the curve optimizer, I would use the core shaper. We set everything to enable -30. Imagine we have set this now. There's only 2 you don't set this way. That's high temp, high frequency. You do enable positive 15, and you do the same on high frequency, high temp, enable positive 14. The rest is -30, as you can see. No, there's no auto. And we just leave this. We basically are very close to be finished. SoC Anchor mode, we do enable. Here we just disable the driver installer. We go to the USB LED, it's off. We don't want to recover it, the rest is also good. Here, normally I would advise you to go down here, use the fan tuning tool and see what it is, the results are, and then just set the temperatures. Don't change the speeds and the percentages of the fans, just set the temperatures, like when it starts. And when you want to have like 50, you do just the temperature and change it. I just do it the simple way today. I set or use the presets as I do very often. Basically, I always monitor the CPU because for me, when the case is closed and the CPU is running like we set it up, it's always running. So if the CPU is hot, the case is hot for sure. So I just always monitor the CPU and try to push as much air through a tower as possible to have a greater cooling and a better volume cooling inside the case and overall more performance at a lower volume, because what people don't understand is making something silent as a fan doesn't mean it stays silent when the load comes. So it makes no sense anyway, but on a water cooling, it's more likely to have a higher base curve, like a higher floor of a higher RPM to just maintain a lower overall or idle or let's say core temperature in the radiator for all time, which will always lead to more consistent performance. So we are pretty close to be done. We just need to set this to CPU everywhere, and then you go for the highest step down time because step up time needs to be ridiculous fast, and you want to have like some more spins of the fan afterwards, which will lead to again lower voltages for sure. This one blows now way more. We set this performance. We go here, performance. I forgot to like hide the timings. Performance. We just go with max time. And as you can hear, it gets a little bit louder now because the Pantex T30 here on top, they are set to 3000 RPMs. All the rest is only 2000. And they just working already because it's a little bit warm in here. The floor heating is on in this room. And I have a really dry throat because I talked a lot already, like over 1.5 hours for the German version. And enable secure, this still enable it for Valorant. Disable fast boot, very important in my opinion. And then enjoy the show, guys. Thanks for watching. If there are any questions, put them down in the comments below. For the first 3 months, I will take a look. Afterwards, I will not, because I'm genuinely know that there will be a way more actual video than there. Thanks for watching, guys. Goodbye.